Well, not the result we wanted. My name's Woody. Jake's got me on to discuss some of the standout stats each week, so let's go over how the Giants got it done in Norwood. First off, let's start with Saner of the round, Nasiah Wanganeen-Milera, with 3 goals won, 24 disposals at 70.6% kicking efficiency, 7 score involvements, 6 rebound 50s, 5 inside 50s, and a total of 673 metres gained. At this rate, Naz might want to have his measurements ready for the All-Australian tailors. And let's stay on the positives before breaking down what I think we need to work on still. Cooper Sharman was in some good form, getting 3 goals won, 13 disposals, 8 score involvements, 5 marks, and 3 of them were marks inside 50, which was the equal most with Mason Wood. Speaking of, he got 1 goal won, 10 marks, and we mentioned the 3 of them were inside 50, but 6 of them were on the lead as well, which was 3 times more than our second most in Cooper Sharman. And while there have been some mentions of the down numbers from our midfield, I want to highlight some of the positives. Again, Garcia looked at home in the guts, getting 23 disposals, their equal most ground ball gets with 8, the most inside 50s with 7, 5 score involvements with 2 score launches, and 19 pressure acts. Speaking of pressure acts, Windhager led the way there with 25, which was the most he's had this season, and the equal third most in his career. He also got the second most disposals with 25, 19 of them were effective as well for 76% disposal efficiency, which was the best of our centre bounce midfielders. Also, I know myself and other Saints fans have been asking to see this for a while, and in the fourth quarter, we finally got to see Machito Owens attend the centre bounce as a midfielder. And let's zoom in on that for a second. Marshall goes up against Briggs, and the ball spills out the back to Mitch and his opponent. And while the ball bounces off Mitch and goes to ground, he gets the ground ball get, is too strong for his opponent to tackle, and bombs it inside 50 for a centre clearance. Now, don't get me wrong, maybe he could have handballed over the top to McRae for a more effective inside 50, but I don't think anybody is unhappy with that effort. So, Ross mentioned it in his presser, but I think we should have a chat about our inside 50s and what happened in that third quarter. We won the match for inside 50s 62-51. We even won the third quarter 16-13. And for the year, GWS and us are not far apart at our goal per inside 50 rate at 26.1 to 26.7. So why did they score 8 goals 3 to our 3 goals 3? To understand that, we'll need to look at a couple of plays. First up, let's look at some of the Giants' goals. The first of Toby Greene's 3 goals in this quarter comes from a switch at the stoppage. Greene starts at the centre bounce on steal, ends up swapping in the next contest and gets out the back on Wilson, who wasn't even his man, for a mark and goal. In his second goal, the Giants get the ball back from a clearing kick from Wilson in the centre to Iden in our forward 50. And while Greene eventually goals from a kick getting over the back, I want to go back to Wilson's kick, as this is an issue that will come up for us a few times. When we go back to Wilson's entry inside 50, we can see shorter options up the field that could have potentially gotten us a deeper entry. In fact, if we look at how they scored their goals this quarter, 5 from their 8 goals came from turnovers. Sinclair's inside 50 missed Sharman, it fumbles around before Wild spills it to them. They go coast to coast finding Cabman lace out. Naz gets tackled on the break and maybe there was nobody ahead of him, but that eventually leads to Stringer's goal. And I could go on, but let's look at some of our inside 50 numbers. These were the players that got inside 50s in the third quarter, and of those 13, only 4 of those were effective entries with a mark inside 50 or a shot on the run that goaled. If we look at our overall numbers for marks and marks inside 50, we can see that marks were down, matching our effort in round 1 against Adelaide. And while we have won with less than this week's amount of inside 50s before, that was the most amount of intercept marks that we've conceded this year. And when you start to look at general efficiency numbers, and again, while it wasn't the worst we've had, it was the biggest gap we've had with our opponent since Adelaide. On a more positive note, we didn't concede significantly more turnovers than previous weeks, and as mentioned earlier, we got the most inside 50s we've had so far this year. So there is positives, especially when you consider that we held the Giants goalless in the last quarter too. Finally, let's touch on my moment of the match, and I couldn't get over Liam Stocker's efforts in the first with a smother tackle, handball received, long kick inside 50 to the target's chest for a mark. It doesn't get much better than that, and hopefully we see more of it next week. If we want to touch on my thoughts quickly, I think we were just a bit ineffective with the ball going forward, and this seemed to be mostly due to not finding the shorter, simpler options, or just missing targets we should hit. And considering it's not all negatives, I wouldn't be worried just yet, Saners. there's plenty of time to tweak plays and players going into the back half of the season. But that about sums up my major points for the week. If you want to see more of my face, I've got my own channel at Wooden Spoon Data, and I'll finally be putting out a video this week, so keep an eye out. But I'll be here each and every week to go over some of the standout Saints stats. I want to thank Jake for having me. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week. Go Saints.